30 years, and I still really like you.
We're past that topic.
Oh, okay. If you say so. Whatever helps you sleep better at night.
You do, because you warm my feet.
Yeah. Ice cold.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi. Hold on. Hold, please. Hi. I'm Dan with Sager and Sons Automotive, Boise, Idaho. This is my wife, Katie Sager, co-owner of Sager and Sons Automotive.
I should be 51% because then we get women owned.
51.
We should change that.
Yeah.
We get perks as a girl-owned business.
Huh. Can you buy me out so I can
You're 1%?
take some time off? No.
Oh, what? Okay, you let me borrow the money.
I'll
buy you out.
I'll sell 51% of it to you.
I do believe we live in a community property state.
I know, but let's just tell the banks that. Right?
The banks already know.
And then we'll both be able to sit on some money, and then I can finish building my race car and do my off-time stuff.
We'll get you there.
Okay.
But I sure as heck ain't being in the shop.
You what?
I sure as heck won't be in the shop.
No.
Anyways, hi, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Let's talk about cars. Let's talk about cars this time.
Let's talk about cars this time. Let's talk about me and you.
Okay, let's do that because we just had a whole car issue this weekend where I picked up a razor blade.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you know? Okay, let's talk about cars for real. Let's talk about ADOS. I really hate ADOS. Let me just tell you why. This whole while we're out here parallel parking and you come up behind me and I'm trying to back into that spot, slammed on my brakes. Thought I hit the curb because it's all you. I was like, you stupid.
How'd that get turned back on?
I don't know how that got turned. It's all you coming up at the side of me and I'm trying to back up and it goes, and I'm like, oh, did I just hit the curb? He's going to kick my butt.
Well, just like my F-350.
Stupid cars.
The 19 was cool, but the 2024, I was backing up to get the trailer so we can go camping.
Yeah.
And I
Did it do that?
I hadn't hooked the tow hitch up yet, but I had it on the tongue, and I went to back up, and it locked the brakes. And I'm in the middle of the road because I wanted to hook the chains, because if you have the chains hooked up, it binds, right, if you're trying to turn hard. So I unhooked the chains, and I unhooked the plug. Well, once it didn't see anything hooked, and then I had a trailer technically, and it seen something in my rear view, it locked me up, and I couldn't go backwards, and I couldn't pull back into traffic. So I had to sit there, put it in park, disable the ADOS, the assisted backup portion of it.
Stupid computers we didn't ask for.
Ooh, man. I was freaking out because I was like in the middle of the road, 4-lane traffic. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't go anywhere. So
hello. That's what I was just at right here, trying to back into a parallel parking spot, and it slammed on my brakes.
You don't have a 40-foot trailer hooked to you.
No, I have a little tiny thing that if I get hit, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Well, they're doing 20, 25 downtown here.
Okay, but that's the speed limit. That's not what they're doing.
I know. My bad. But yeah, back to your tire.
Yeah. We all have, even us, cobbler shoes and all. We have our own emergencies, right? Razor blade on a weekend with no tire shop. Well, access to our wholesale tire shops are not open. I would have had to go to an outside source if I needed a new tire, but thankfully we had saved.
And she tells me not to worry sometimes, that I take things too seriously, and I have trust issues.
He does.
And the first words out of her mouth, I says, why don't we just take it to a tire shop? Why? So they can tell me the tire's no good and then make me buy a new tire? And I was like, oh, yeah.
And they're going to rip my bead because it's a bunch of kids.
And they're going to rip the bead, and that's a common thing. And then it's dangerous anyway. But the light came on out of nowhere. So we topped it off, and then it dropped 2 pounds in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, we better get it to the shop. We don't have time to go eat. We'll have to eat afterwards. So
and I was hangry.
Yeah, and she drives us to the shop. And I get it torn down, and I'm like, I start to go patching it. I'm digging this thing out, and I'm like, huh. As I realize there's a razor blade and it's a 1/2 inch cut, I'm like, okay, guess what? Your tire's no good.
But he didn't rip my bead.
But I didn't rip the bead. Anything over a 1/4 inch, right? And it's in the tread. It'll cut the cords, and it can cause that.
If
tire
they go to your Google My Business profile, they'll see the picture that I posted of you changing my tire.
Nice, yeah. You don't want to.
Oh,
I learned over 20 years ago, and I live by that rule. You know, they've upgraded the patches and whatnot to where it's like a patch plug set up from the inside out, and you drill the cords, and they make certain size, hardened type drill bits, what it looks like, and it was a 1/2 inch. I'm not.
but it's just
attaching
little.
that.
I guess it's just little things like that where people don't understand where something small,
Yeah,
like a tire repair,
yeah,
could end up into something big, like having to replace all 4 tires and some suspension because they didn't pay attention to one tiny little thing.
and if it's all-wheel drive and it's more than 2/32 of an inch difference, which is Lincoln's head on an all-wheel drive, the top of Lincoln's head, that much difference on a all-wheel drive can damage
The top of
the
Lincoln's head on a
differential.
coin is what you're saying.
The
on
top
a
of
coin.
the penny, right? Lincoln's
Yeah.
head on the top of a penny.
Pennies are discontinued.
My mistake. The penny that's no more, right? So can't go with that anymore.
Nope,
But
everybody's rounding up in their favor.
there's billions, possibly trillions in circulation, right? The top of that's tiny amount. And if you have that difference, it's recommended by most manufacturers, especially Subaru. The all-wheel drive and, Volvo, they have all-wheel drive. A lot of all-wheel drives. You don't want a difference in the tread because it will, it can overheat the transfer case and burn the clutches out of that and whatnot.
It's the maintenance of the cars right now. Speaking of maintenance of cars, our lovely Gage, the service advisor, and my mom, I guess her battery died and she's at O'Reilly's. She didn't come to us. She went to O'Reilly's to get it warrantied out. Because I told Gage, I'm like, have her just come into the shop. We'll take care of it. I'll switch the battery out, right? Because it's warranty. When it's our battery, warranty it out.
Napa battery in there?
I don't know if we put a Napa battery or an O'Reilly. Gage can't find
Napa.
it in the systems, right? Between the system changes. So figure it out. Whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? I just said, we'll call O'Reilly's and tell them to put it on our account.
Yeah.
Not a big
I
deal.
believe that one's Napa.
We're going to figure it out.
She's at O'Reilly's trying to warranty out a Napa battery. Right?
Yeah, it's, but that's just it. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about the cars, right? It's the different thing. It even happens within our own families.
Right.
People don't understand what it costs to maintain the vehicle.
Yeah.
She's got a drain in her car. She's known about this drain for how long? Years, 6, 7 years. We've known about this drain.
Well, yeah, and
But it's a junk car.
I believe at the time, a couple of years ago, it was a computer. But if you don't drive the car but once a month, they have a natural draw. So
Yeah, it's a little old lady car.
throughout the years, I've realized that if you don't drive a car, once that battery hits about 10 volts, it sulfates, right? And it can only go down to that level so many times. A lead acid battery can only go down there a couple times where it ruins the battery. So if they just sit, a month or 2 months or 3 months out of the year and you never drive it.
She's only driving 20 miles once a month.
The computer has a very minute draw and it gets cold. So that's not good for the battery either.
Yeah.
So
Little things like that, the maintenance things. What do you think? What's the biggest maintenance item that you see come in that people don't take care of besides oil change?
besides oil
Because
changes.
I think oil change should be known when you buy a car. Everybody thinks oil change. Got to change my oil. Got to check my oil. People know that. That's a mainstream.
And besides transmissions, right? Because
because even I didn't really.
a lot of them,
Because I
a
have
lot
that
of people
stupid
will do the
transmission.
transmission service for the most part, but the biggest one I see is differentials. They're just like,
Okay, but let's explain what a differential is for these people. Because I
Right.
didn't even know coming into the shop, and hello, we've been together for 1 billion years. And I'm like, what's a differential? So I had to go Google that and find out that when you turn, like the pressure of the tire and the angle and everything. It's helping one wheel slow down and the other one speed up because of the way that you're turning. So if you don't have that fluid within all of, the difference, and how many times are you making right turns? I mean, when I'm as a mom and, I want my kids to make a bunch of right turns and not turn left onto main highways. So it's little things like that.
I guess if that's a limited slip type deal on a rear wheel drive,
Okay, but let's really dumb that down. What's a limited slip on a rear wheel drive?
Even in a front wheel drive car, they still have mini differentials just like that, right? So if they have clutches or they're designed to be a positive track where limited slip, so much slip out of one wheel, and then it will engage the other wheel, so you get even pull. One back in the day they used to call it a one-legger, right?
So is it basically like, let's dumb it down for somebody like me? Is it basically like rowing a boat with one oar and just going in circles because you don't have the balance of the two together?
Yeah.
So then what the fluid within the differential, what does the fluid actually do? Why do I need to maintain that fluid in the diff? What does that do? Is there's gears and stuff?
It's the technical term for, let's say it's the rear. Let's just go off the rear differential. That is what's considered your final drive. So you have your engine, the component between there, the torque converter, whatever that may be, a stick. You'll have a clutch. Then you have your transmission to the output to the drive line, and that's the big drive line that goes back. Let's say we're talking about a rear-wheel drive vehicle. It can be four-wheel drive, but let's just say we have in two-wheel drive and we're driving that back differential. That's your final drive. And that differential is considered your final drive. So your transmission can have 1,000 gears or 10 gears. You're going to have 2 gears.
Is that the pumpkin thing on the back?
That's your pumpkin. So that is your final drive component. So
I grew up thinking it's a pumpkin, not a hole.
Yes. Yep. Your differential pumpkin, and they were considered that, right?
Oh, it's good to know that's pumpkin. Actually the one thing that we're talking about. But in my head, it was a pumpkin.
Yeah, many guys would paint them pretty colors, pumpkin color of pumpkin. I promise, I had guys do it when I was a kid, right? But the differential, on bigger applications, they were called pumpkins because they literally look like a pumpkin. So
yeah,
but that's your final drive. That's the end.
So, and inside of that, there's gears that are like a clock, sort of like a visual.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a clock, but they need to be lubed.
Clock, right? A gear wound clock style.
Right. But so they need to be lubed because why? Why can't they be dry like a clock?
I guess clocks have minute, fine graphite that goes super, super slow, right? And these things do. I'm not even going to get into the math of how fast they actually turn.
Right.
When
No, but just
speed, right?
just think like a metaphor, right? Like I'm giving them a visual of the clock gears, right? Which is what's in the back of their pumpkin, their rear diff, right? But we know our engine needs oil to lubricate and help with all the moving parts and keep it so it doesn't go, and move up and down. And our transmission needs the same because there's so many internal little tiny pieces that move within our transmission. And so our rear diff and or front need that too because there's gears. And
or in an all-wheel drive application or your little car, it has a little mini differential sitting up there that for the most is part of the transaxle, and it gets lubed that way. But some have separate. Some
He's
have
trying
separate.
to beat himself up at the microphone.
Yep, I believe. I know the Subarus have a separate little differential that goes in there. It gets lubed from that's not integrated into the transmission that have separate fluid. So that's kind of.
So what happens if they don't maintain that? Because that's the number one, or I guess that should be on the top 3: oil change, transmission, rear, or differential.
Differentials, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
what happens
very,
if
very
they don't,
neglected.
What happens if they don't fix it?
Fix it or service it?
Service it. What happens if they don't? And what's a good service interval?
We go back to if you're towing, depending on that drive.
Let's just talk about the way I drive. Okay, so I drive decently. I'm not a lead foot, but I'm not a grandma driver either. So I stay with the traffic usually, unless you've irritated me. And I put 100 miles a day on my car because I'm commuting in and out from what we would call a bedroom community into the shop.
I say for me, like I do not a lot of towing. I don't excessive tow, but I do some towing. So I like to do for my truck 30,000 miles, 30, 50, depending on, and we can always look at it and go, oh, or you can even send it out. But for the most part, rule of thumb, 30 for guys like me.
And what about for moms like me who are
50
hauling
to
kids?
60, right?
So a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And then if I don't service that, then what?
It'll degrade and you know, if the fluid's not serviced, it has very minute wear and tear, and the metal degrades the oil and it just tears it up, and it's not the lubricant is not, the viscosity is junk, and it will not keep things free. It will cause them to, the oil to degrade, and it could seize up, right? It could be dangerous.
Eat teeth, or you know what you call glitter.
Yeah, a glitter bomb, right? Inside the rear end, you know, that's common from guys doing burnouts and things like that. That ruins them fast.
Don't let the kids do donuts in your car.
Yep. Little background story. In 2008, 7, I was out of Big O Tires. I was working for Mick. I did all the suspension alignments and whatnot, right? And remember, we had that really nice Tundra, right?
Yeah, the silver one, or not the gold one?
The gold one. Before I blew up the rear end.
That was in the blue one.
The Tundra?
Yeah.
No, I had a gold Tundra that I messed the rear end up in.
No, did we
It was
blow the rear end up in
I
that
promise,
one?
I remember.
No.
Yes,
Are
I
we
was trying
talking
to avoid
Snowmageddon?
traffic going through Lowe's, and I hopped over
Oh,
the curb.
yes.
And I jumped on a little too hard. And
I remember
boom.
that. Yep. I thought that was a blue one.
No.
Oh.
But
okay.
anyway, back to the story. I remember this older gentleman coming in, and he had the same truck as me. And I was like, well, he's at 60,000 miles. He needs a diff service. I'm going to call it. I drained it out, and it's pure gold. I'm like, you never did the service on this before? Mine was black and gross at 30, you know? And I'm like, it was the driving difference. It was a younger kid that liked to put his foot on the gas and tow lots of things versus a guy that just cruised, you know. It really didn't degrade the fluid. It depends on how you drive. So
is that something you have to take into a mechanic or an auto repair shop to check?
yeah.
Like, so for me, I can just pull a dipstick out to check my oil and sometimes transmission, not always. But so do I have to take that into the shop to have them check?
They have an inspection hole that's hard to see. So if you're not, you know, a lot of the older gents like me, we get in there, we check it. But for the most part, it's hard to get in there, and you get a little measuring stick, or you can get a little inspection light and get a little sample of it and look at it. If it's dark and black, you probably want to change it. If it's nice and gold and you want a preventive maintenance, then change it out. That's fine too. But it's not going to hurt anything, but it'll hurt if you don't take care of it. Like long term, it could, you know, be very, very costly on a rear differential. Ooh, man.
Don't jump curbs either.
Yeah. That was a $3,000 repair in 2008.
Was it even then?
For parts.
Was it 2008?
Yeah.
It was early, because we had that before, because I was still working at Custom Pools
Yeah,
when we had that truck.
It was the 2008 to 10, maybe 12 era.
Yeah.
It was so long. I mean,
I know.
it doesn't seem so long. But,
I know.
but that was 20 years, almost 20 years ago.
When
and
when people start
$3,000
talking
cost of goods for
90s,
me.
I'm like, yesterday, but oh my gosh, the 90s are way old.
Yeah.
Way to make me feel old.
Thanks. I mean, you're welcome.
You're welcome. So I guess then, what do people not understand about taking care of the preventative care? They think that when they take it in, again, a lot of people understand oil change. They get that, but they don't understand all of the other preventative maintenance that could save them from costly repairs, because they see the preventative maintenance of, I guess it's kind of like, to put it in a metaphor for people, it's kind of like having to do the electrical in a home instead of getting new countertops, right? I have to upgrade the electrical so my house doesn't burn down, but it's not pretty. So people kind of see that with cars, and the preventative maintenance and the lubes is like, I have to spend the money on this,
Right.
but it's not a new set of rims. How would
Right.
you, like, if they don't do the preventative maintenance, what's going to happen? And who should they trust to be not a lube shop? Should they take it to a lube shop, or should they take it to an actual auto repair shop?
Uh, I, I, I'm not a big advocate for lube shops because I've seen so many problems, right? And I won't get into that because, like I said, I don't want to.
They're big on car count from what
Yeah.
so they're fast. They're like a dock in a box, right? They're good for emergencies.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the most part, there's probably quite a few guys that are decent lube techs, right? And for the most part, I don't think anybody doesn't not want to take care of you and help your vehicle out. So I just think things are done too quickly, and you can't get a proper look at everything.
And
so
or
maybe
things
that
are
gives
forgotten.
them a bad name, right?
Yeah.
So I like to really, when a car comes in for an oil change, I don't like just an oil change, right? I like to look at everything while I'm in there. And
Right. Back to your primary care physician,
back to
right?
our inspections, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that aren't looked at, and it's like, ooh, that could have been bad. That could have been dangerous, right?
But even we see it then, though, too, when they bring it in for their inspection. The heater doesn't work. I'm cold. I want my heater fixed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fix my heater before
Yeah.
I do my oil change because I have a certain amount of money to spend on my vehicle.
Yeah.
Because that's going to
Or
cause me
the inside
damage.
of the tires are bald because I have bad front end parts, and the outside of the tire looks good, so I don't need tires. But then when we send them in the inspection, they get the measurements of the tread. They're like, my tires don't look like that. And you're like, you send them the picture like, oh my goodness, I need tires.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I need steering or suspension parts, right?
Yeah. Well, would you consider that preventative maintenance, like steering and suspension, or are we just focusing on fluids as
I
maintenance?
would say that's mandatory, right?
Yeah.
When you have loose front end parts, because that can be a safety
But
issue.
how do I know if they're loose? Like, how often should I be taking my vehicle in to get looked at to know that I'm driving a safe vehicle?
If we pull our manuals out, we have this on our end too. We can look it up for you. And there's little check marks. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, all the way to 300,000 miles. There's a little checklist, and that is in everybody's owner's manual. And if you don't get it there, you
book
can get it.
that sits in the glove box that nobody opens.
Nobody looks at. We have that, and it prompts us to look at everything. So usually when we get a newer vehicle, we can do that whole list as we go through the life of the vehicle and keep it in our history and know what needs to happen next or know what needs to be looked at next. But a lot of people don't do that. And
what kind of preventative maintenance would you suggest that they can do on their own versus bringing it in, like cabin air filters?
Yeah. I've had people get receipts or drop something in, then it goes into the fan, then it shakes the whole dash and breaks the fan motor. So just be careful when you're changing those because the glove box is right there and everything kind of can.
So either drop the glove box or empty the glove box?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not all like that, but there are some where I've seen people do that. Or, there was a quick, I'm not going to mention the name. There was a quick lube shop. And they replaced an air filter and an oil change on my friend's vehicle. I won't say the friend or the vehicle. 100 miles later, it was knocking, making noise, got it towed back and found whoever had looked in the air filter didn't put the nut where it should have been, and it went through the motor. It couldn't be proven, but that was a $15,000 fix for my friend that couldn't prove what happened. And I seen it, right? But, where the part went, I don't know. It was one of the pistons was shattered in pieces, but it didn't happen until he took it, and a nut has to get, or whatever debris has to get up into the intake. Certain amount of velocity and volume has to pick up, and as you're cruising, and then about 100 miles out of town is when it happened, and it finally sucked through the intake and went in there.
That sucks.
Yeah. So I just be careful when taking those air filter boxes off and doing your own maintenance. So that could be dangerous as well. So I don't know. I would always say unless you're an experienced.
Well, because you see a lot of these DIY, I can watch a YouTube video and do it, right? Yeah. So you see a lot of that. And then there's a DIY shop where you can rent time to work on your own car.
Yeah.
And how confident, like even just, so just the last couple days, listening, because I listen to the phone calls to, help direct and redirect whatever's going on within the conversation.
Yeah.
And just last two or three of them have called in and basically said, help, I'm throwing up the white flag. I've bit off more than I can chew. I've done this
Right.
at home and now I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, isn't that, I know what you would recommend to come in first, but when people are more budget conscious right now, especially these days, like, where do you draw the line of like, I can DIY this versus I need to take this into a repair shop who has decades of experience and the tools and the diagnostics to be able to do this?
I've thought about that a lot. And for me, like if I want to go do woodworking or something, it better be very interesting to me because I know it's a lot more than the surface shows what I'm going to involve myself with. So I would say start learning as much as you can. Take a class. If you're going to invest in this, something you want to be able to do and confidently do it, it takes quite a bit of work to do. You're going to invest some time in no matter what you do, right? So especially if it's a car and you have the money to fix it later, then sure, fine. If not, get some advice, professional advice on how to fix it, because the do-it-yourself shop, I don't recommend doing that unless you're doing a restoration or something like that. I had a friend come in, he wanted to do his own turbos on a nice F-150. And
I know this story.
Ended up,
I had to fight the stupid warranty company.
Turbos, we had to replace the heads. We had to do a lot of work to it. And the whole undercarriage was soaked from oil because the turbos he put together were just, there's a lot more to it than just bolting things on and being done, I wouldn't.
So I can't just watch a YouTube video?
I wouldn't recommend it. You can.
What if the YouTube video is a
right?
well-known influencer? Well, yeah, because
right.
Yes, time and tools, like the tooling. That's one of the reasons why we don't do Euro, right? Because that's a whole different set of tools.
Yep.
Right? So we'd have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into tools that we don't have to work on that specific car.
Yep. Well, and coding's different, you can have bag, you can have a misfire and it's more of a vacuum leak on a Euro versus a Toyota or a Ford.
Who fixes Toyotas? Toyotas didn't get fixed.
I know, right? They just run millions of miles without no oil or anything. I know.
Everybody needs to buy a Toyota, except for the new ones. They blow engines.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a flicker.
Yeah, it was. But no, a do-it-yourself shop, I'm not an advocate for that, right? I'm an advocate for, guys going on YouTube. They're younger techs. They're learning. They're absorbing. They're repairing themselves, and they go in first like, oh, I never seen that before. Is that what's happening, right? So somebody going in and wanting to repair and do their own brakes for the first time.
Except if you have to calibrate it with the new ADOS. Because I heard, I don't remember which podcast I was listening to.
A bumper comes off and there's...
No. They had to calibrate the brakes. So it was a story I heard on a podcast. They were talking about how this guy tried to save money on his Porsche. I don't even know what it was, a Porsche brake.
Maybe, yeah.
And he took it to a lube shop who they're starting to do brakes. And they just did a pad slap or whatever. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm paraphrasing here. But by this guy trying to save $1,500 in brakes by taking it to the lesser valued shop, he now had to spend, $3,000 to go back and do the original repair the correct way because they didn't have the tooling, and plus what he spent, because they didn't have the tooling and the calibrations and the things with all of these newer vehicles. So it's not just I'm going to watch a YouTube video and pad slap my new brakes.
Right.
There's way more to it now.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. And that
stupid electronics.
That can be scary.
Yeah.
Once again, the do-it-yourself shop that you can go do it yourself and they pay an experienced technician to sit there and help the guys when they need help. But still, it's like,
I think you have to pay extra for that.
yeah, you do. And YouTube Premium and all that stuff, right? And I get it for the most part for the guys that are experienced technicians that don't have the shop, that's fine.
Right.
But a full on, I'm going to go do this myself, it's like, well, hopefully they get the help they need because that could be
or
a
you
safety
can call
issue.
us.
Yeah.
We won't take your parts though.
Yeah, we won't install your parts. That can be scary.
We will give you a warranty.
Yeah, because I can go install your part. Now I'm married to it either way, right? And because I'm the expert, I should not have installed that part if there's a problem or a safety issue. And in court, I still lose. So I realized I can't do that, right? So,
Right.
to the newer people out there thinking it's okay, and you should, if you end up in court because it's a safety issue, you were the expert, and they're probably going to win. So just don't do it.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I'm just saying, cover your butt and do things the right way. And the right way is to get a warranty and have the shop install the part that they supply because it's a known good quality part, right?
Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't be the advocate for do it yourself unless this is the path that you are going to go on and you are going to become intermediate expert and so on, right? Because if you're just going to do it once and done, it's never once and done. There's so many safety aspects to doing it yourself. It's like me trying to do my own taxes, right? I'm not even going to try that. No.
Oh my gosh. I would not recommend that. Not in the stage of life we're in.
I am not going to end up owing the IRS 10 years later.
Okay, we've been audited. That was not fun.
No. That was not fun.
Hard pass on that.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
No, thank you. I will let the professionals handle that. I am not doing that ever again.
No, and vet your professionals too, please. Always vet your professionals. What would be a good question for them while they're vetting a mechanic or an auto repair shop? Like, what would be a good question for the consumer who's calling in to make sure that they're working with an experienced professional that has the time in?
Yeah.
Just one or two questions. What would be a good one for them to ask?
You could start off by, are your guys ASC certified? Yeah.
So ongoing learning.
Ongoing learning. Hey, what kind of warranty do you guys supply, right? Because if you're backed by, let's just say, Napa Auto Parts, and you see that sign there, they've got a big backing nationwide. And that's huge because you're going to get taken care of. You're getting quality parts.
So if I go on vacation and something happens in another state over, I'm going to be taken care of with that warranty.
Yep.
As long as I maintain my vehicle.
Yep. Keep your records because those NAPAs are all over the world and they cover each other, all of the shop backs like no other. They're just. So
top two questions is ongoing learning for your technicians. Are they certified?
Are they certified?
And warranty. Yep. What kind of warranty do you offer me?
Supply? Yep. If it's a 12-12, probably not. 2-year 24 is not bad, right? And then the gold, like a gold standard shop is a really good shop. When they can supply the 3-year 36,000 mile warranty, they're backed pretty hard.
They're professional.
Yeah, they're backed hard because they trust the technicians and the shop.
Their work is done right.
Yep. That's a huge one.
Awesome. What else? Is that it?
For today, I'm sure we will figure a lot more to talk about later, right?
Totally.
That's it.